What's up, guys? Right, okay, so this video is in response to some comments that have been put in on some of my previous videos about the VFR 800 refurbished loom. So somebody was asking, have I laid out the two looms next to each other to see if they're the same or if there are any differences. The answer to that question was I hadn't actually done that, but I realised that it was a good idea to do that, so I did actually lay both looms out next to each other on the floor, and what I did was I went literally from one end of the loom to the other all the way round, and I compared each and every single plug, so ECU plugs and everything else from well, actually I started at the front and worked to the back, and every plug pretty much is identical. It has all the same sort of engine electrical plugs for sensors and injectors and everything else. It was all basically the same. The only differences excuse me, were that some of the plugs had been replaced, like the fuel pump plug, for example. I'd replaced out spade connectors because it was corroded, but that looks like the original corroded plug that I cut off. So basically the two looms are identical as far as I can tell. I can't tell any difference between the two of them. So that's that kind of issue covered. So another person then commented that I should perhaps check for continuity on the loom to see that it's all basically in good working order. So to be honest, I wasn't entirely sure how to do this. So what I did was I actually went and found a video on YouTube by another YouTuber who was testing using one of these multimeters to test car electrics. And what he said was that you turn the switch round to the ohms, which is this symbol here, and I think he had his set to 200k. So what I've been doing is I've been checking some of the earth circuits. What I've done is this bit here is the like ring connector where the earth wires bolt onto the chassis. So you can't really see it because it's got electrical tape on it at the moment, but there's a hole through there. A bolt would go through there and bolt that onto the chassis, and this is a big thick green wire. And what this does is this connects all the green wires in the whole loom are earth wires, and they all go into this one big fat green wire, which then goes onto the chassis, and that's your earth. Okay, so what I've done is I've got the earth, which is the black one of these, and I've actually taped it because there isn't really a way to kind of like push it in. What I've done is I've taped around it with some electrical tape. So that's holding that firmly on there, and then what I've been doing is I've been going around putting the live one, which is the red one obviously, been plugging that into all the well, not all, but a good number of the green wires. So what I'm going to do is and I have been getting zeros, which indicates that excuse me, that the earth circuit's working fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate that just now. So I'm turning that to 200. I'm going to put the backlight on because I'm not sure if that shows too well on the video. Okay, so we've got a 1 there, right? Okay, so let's say this, for example. This I think is no, sorry, wait a minute, that doesn't have an earth. I know there was something here that has an earth. What have we got? Right, there's a plug here. I'm not sure what it is, but we can try this. Is that a green wire? Right, so 0. Okay, and as soon as I take that away, back to 1. Okay, so that one's sort of passed the test. So then we've got another one here. This one connects. This block connects to. I'm going to move this over a bit because I'm not sure if you can see it. This connects to the voltage regulator. So I'm going to plug that in there. I'm going to hold it there, and again 0. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side because there's 2 green wires going into that plug, and again, see, if I take it away it goes to 1, if I plug it in down to 0. Okay. So there's a few others we can try. I wish this backlight would stay backlit, but never mind. Right, so here we go. We've got a green wire on the fuel pump. That's the fuel pump, down to 0. If I pull it out, back to 1. Okay, so that's working fine. There's another plug here. I don't actually know what this does or what it leads to, but it's got a green wire, so I'll give it a try. I can work out which pin the green wire goes to. I think it's that one in the top corner. Right, so I'm holding it against that pin. Must be the wrong pin, I think. There we go. Yeah, so that's gone down to 0 again. Oops. No, it hasn't. It's gone back to 1. Right. The male pins are kind of difficult to get a good connection on, because you're basically just holding one piece of metal against another. I can't seem to get anything on this. I had something before, but it's not doing it. I think I may be getting the wrong pin. Right, let's try a different one. This one here. Right, so this is a side stand switch. Right, so that's giving me 0, and if I take it away, back to 1. What else can we check? Anything that's got a green wire. Right, so here we've got a green plug here, and this is the bank angle connector, which is a safety device that turns the injection off if you come off the bike. So that's down to 0, as you can see. Take it out, back to 1. Right, so everything that I've tested so far has passed on the earth circuits. Actually, I think what I might do, let's see, I'm going to check some of these on the ECU, but I need to find a wire that's just green, because there are a lot that are green and something else which is not necessarily earth. I think that one in the corner is just green. Let's give that a try. Right, there we go, that's down to 0. Okay, so backlight on, and there we go, down to 0. Okay, so the earth on the ECU works. So what have I tested? The ECU, the fuel pump earth on a couple other things, side stand switch, I'm not sure what that thing is, voltage regulator, I'm not sure what this thing is, bank angle sensor. So it's a few different things, and they've all come back 0, so that looks pretty encouraging to me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to untake that from there, and I'm going to test some of the other circuits, like for example the coil circuits that don't have an earth, they just go by the ECU. So I'm going to test those next, okay? Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to test some of these spark plug connectors. So I'm going to hold the negative against the 4th port on this connector, which goes into the black and white wire, and then I'm going to put the other end, this is kind of awkward, put one end in there in the spark plug connector and touch this on here, and if we watch, I don't know if you can see that screen, but that's down to 0. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to hold that there, I'm going to touch that on there, straight down to near enough 0. I've got more spark plug connectors over here. That on there, and touch that on there, straight down to 0. Okay, same idea with this one. Hold that in there and touch that on there, straight down to 0. Okay, so that's all looking pretty good. This block connector here, this is the fuel cutoff relay, I believe. So what I'm going to do, I've got that plugged into the black and white wire there, and I'm going to touch on the black and white wire here again. I'm going to see what happens. Straight down to 0, that's good. There's another black and white wire wired into this block connector here, so I'm going to put that one in there, if it'll go. There we go, right, and then touch that on there. straight down to 0. That looks good as well, so that's another important circuit that's tested perfectly good. So it's all looking pretty good at this stage. Okay, so this block connector here, this is all this is another relay which is part of the fuel injection circuit, which is another black and white wire. These black and white wires go all over the place to all sorts of engine electrical stuff. It's like all one circuit that runs fuel injectors and spark plugs and all that kind of thing. So I'm just going to test this block connector as well. Again, straight down to 0, looks good. So I'm now going to test the other one here, because there are two black and white wires in this connector, I think, or no, there aren't. Okay. Right, so what I've got here is the fuel injector loom, which is like a separate kind of sub loom to the main loom that plugs into the main loom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check some of these circuits. So this one's plugged into the black and white wire there, and I'm going to touch it on each of these injector. These are connectors that actually go to the injectors. So I'm going to touch it on each one in turn. So here we go. Straight down to 0. Okay, that's one. Another one here. Straight down to 0. That's another. Straight down to 0. And straight down to 0. So all of those circuits seem to work fine on the injectors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try, let's see, we've got a black and white wire and we've got a pink and green wire going to each of the injectors. So let's find the pink and green wire here. There we go, so that's that connector there. I'm just going to push that in there. Stay. Oh, a second. Right. Pink and green. Stay. Okay. And then the pink and green on each of these. So straight down to 0.